I recently left the gaming group I'd been with for a while. I did so with silence and burnt bridges. 100% the worst and least adult way to handle things. I felt it was easier to let them hate me and just move on to the next phase of my life at this point. Gaming and gaming groups used to be a comfort for me. Now it's just one more piece on a pile of misery I have created. I expect no one's sympathy or empathy. That is not the point of this video. I just have felt the urge to attempt to explain myself as a final farewell before I fade into obscurity. For good this time. Something I rarely discuss with anyone is how when I'm not on the internet, I'm pretty much alone 24/7. I have only a couple friends and I might see once or twice a year. I'm just such an awkward mental case that I struggle to deal with people, and so I avoid it at all costs. Plus, a whole book of bad experiences when trying to deal with people hasn't helped either. So it has gotten to the point where the only socialization I've done in the last few years has been on the internet. The problem is I really have no one to open up to or confide in. I've tried a few times with folks and they just seem to glaze over and not really be interested. Which makes sense as I'm a pretty boring, pathetic POS. This meant things always stayed bottled up inside and eventually I'd have a minor breakdown or just rage quit or act like a jackass. Which again, is childish and stupid. This time, the final straw for me wasn't that though. Actually, it was two things. The first was the fact that in most games anymore, I just pretty much take up space. I'm slow, I'm old, most of the time a houseplant with a controller taped to its leaves is a better teammate than I am. That's something that it bugs me, and it bugged me to no end. I always felt in the way, I'm always struggling, I don't know what the hell's going on. That by itself I could pretty much tolerate. I could kind of moderate how I felt about that. But when combined with the second issue, it was just too much. I mentioned earlier that I'm alone most of the time. That came to cause a huge issue after gaming sessions. The fun and euphoria of gaming or laughing with teammates suddenly replaced with silence and crushing loneliness is a really harsh transition to deal with night after night. The longer I went through that cycle of emotions, the more depressed I became. Finally, I realized that I'm just a miserable jerk and should stop tormenting myself with these moments of levity and light. All the gamers I have known have good lives and are great people. Then there's me, a jackass boomer who's utterly failed at everything he has touched. So, I just rage quit everything, acted like an ass, burned everything down around me for one more time. I just had to find a way to make the pain and emotional highs and lows just go away. I needed my emotions to go back to being this dull ache that sits in the back of my mind as it has for the last 25 years. Make no mistake, I feel awful for the people I've ghosted and the ones I've hurt, if any. They deserve the best, I know that much, and that sure as hell isn't me. To close out this pity party of a video, I need you, dear viewer, to understand. I'm not worthy of your sympathy, and I'm not asking for any. Everything that has happened to me is of my own making and my own fault. I just felt the need to get this all off my chest and be done with it. One last 5-view video on YouTube. I will continue to do what I've always done. Go to work, come home. Go to work, come home. Because for me at this point, I'm too broken to be saved and really don't deserve it. My only goal now is to keep the promise that I made 22 years ago, which is just to keep putting one foot in front of the other, no matter what the situation is.